How's it going, everyone? It's Louis here, finally back with another Bitcoin update. Hope you've all kept well during that period. We can see that over the past week or so, Bitcoin has pumped all the way back into the 200 EMA. What I have been saying in my updates is that I want to see all of these moving averages cleared, so we still have the 55 and the 100 EMA hanging over our heads. We can actually see on the daily time frame that today we're currently rejecting the 55 and now find ourselves under the 200 EMA also. I've actually shown a representation of a diagonal downward sloping resistance trend line or trend area. You can see previously we've got a middle point. So previously the outer end was resistance, then the middle point. Once that's broken, of course, this top band over here, break it all, it now becomes support with the lowest point being the final layer of defense. You can see in the future when we came down to the 200 EMA, it did not hold, and we can see a right mess in this area. Losing it, recovering it, losing it, recovering it, an absolute mess. Just choppy markets, choppy manipulated conditions, and that's what's going to continue to be the case while under the 886 Fibonacci. One day we will see Bitcoin higher than 105k, and at that point can't really guarantee it, but compared to now, it will be like easy mode. Not that it will be, there will still be manipulation then, but compared to what we're living through now, it's going to feel like easy mode. So I'm personally waiting for optimal trading conditions to touch altcoins. Otherwise, regardless of price, up or down, I am DCAing Bitcoin. And if you're actually confused at the moment of what to go for, at least with Bitcoin, it will go down the least. It'll be the first back to the highs to open up the path for altcoins, and it gives you that good base for those that are not sure what alts to get right now because they don't want to catch more minus if it does roll over. Wait for that 886 to break. That's when Bitcoin's in the reversal wave. At that point, we're actually expecting new all-time highs, which is wild to wait till that very moment. But guys, I've shown in multiple of my videos, you could get a move up from 74k up to 104. It's a massive move, $30,000 move, and it could still head to new lower lows. If you don't believe me, we can briefly go through it here. Very early on in this multi-month, almost a year-long correction, early days into it, it could have been seen as a similar duration as this to the left. Losing the moving averages, the 20, but holding some other longer term ones. Recovering all moving averages is setting up for new all-time highs. But then that 886 held, so you had a pump from the 0 fib to the 886 fib and still went to new lower lows. And this remained to be the case once again, once we put in that new lower low, pumped from the 0 fib all the way to the 886, went down to new lows. If you want me to spend more time in depth teaching you this, check out the mentorship or consider the Discord. I do actually host live streams in there once a week. If I can't do that live stream, I'll of course put a exclusive video update specifically for the Discord. Links are down below. Otherwise, try and stay up to date with my Twitter, which I post mostly over on there because it's of course takes more time to get videos out. What I'm concerned with, even if this breaks, just like those previous examples, alts are going to start moving in the upward direction and everyone's going to get excited again. I'm not going to let that fool me or trick me just because of what we lived through the whole of the last year with all of those fake outs of the 886. I think it happened on 3 separate occasions. We can actually see over here with this completed move down. Initially, obviously went low eventually. Why did it go lower? Because we bottomed out and from the 0 fib pumped into the 886 fib and went to new lower lows. Guys, that literally means we could pump all the way to 105k from the 0 fib to the 886 fib and still head to new lower lows. So that's why I'm personally waiting for the optimal trading conditions, the reversal wave. Once that's cleared, I've got no worries in the back of my mind. If I'm buying altcoins right now, first of all, we haven't even broken this. We're approaching one of the most important resistances so far. By breaking this resistance, flipping it into support, yes, it initiates a further move up, which is tradable. Don't get me wrong, but it might not sustain long term, could get up into here and go into new lows. As previous examples show, that could be a possibility. Remember that with a falling wedge pattern, as you can see here, this downward sloping, we broke out the other day. That's the last time I made a video. You can see the coming into the apex where these two lines eventually meet. Before that point, you get a breakout. The target is actually just where it began from, so there's no expectation beyond that point. So that's pretty much saying that the 886 is the target. If there's nothing expected beyond that point, that surely means this, once the target is met, nothing further expected. Only one other direction the market goes. A reversal is likely to come from this location. And then, of course, as you see, what we're struggling with as resistance currently needs to end up being support. So yes, we all hope that this falling wedge and double bottom breaks out over here, flips this key resistance into support, and starts to further move up into the 886 fib area, 100 to 105k. Now, of course, understanding this is resistance, this is a target, so no further expectations from this point. A reversal is likely. Could it catch 95 as support? Absolutely. Just need to simply wait, then rather guess. But if you're breaking through this area, then can't be lost at all costs. Otherwise, that really is starting to look like that scenario where we've pumped all the way from the 0 fib into the 886 and head down into new lows. Like, a good signal that we could be avoiding those new lows is if this maintains, so that 84 to 90k area. Long way to go before we even get excited and talk like that, because we're still underneath this key level of resistance. So over the coming days, over this week, we want to see Bitcoin maintaining this dotted line. I just personally believe we're coming up into a very key level of resistance. I'm actually spotting a lot of similarities with this area over here, and right now we could be going through this inverse head and shoulders pattern right over here, and potentially coming into this resistance point area could be this high being set. And so what we need to see is a higher low, higher than the previous low. So this being the low that we've just seen this pump off of, we need to see a low that's higher than this. So already with these weak signals, you can see previously there was some big green candles, and then the momentum flattens out once we start getting wicks to the upside, and you can see the momentum shifting. Same thing again, big green candle, then you start get these big wicks and the momentum shifted to the downside, and we're getting these big green candles. We're starting to get wicks all in that same resistance area, the 55. So really need to watch out for that. I'm already starting to see momentum dying down, even with what are all these influencers have been calling this breakout, which is true. It has broken out of that line specifically. There's always more than just one indicator specifically. So essentially what I'm going to do is, from the low to the high here, we can see all of these key level support, pretty much this green box. We need to find support. I like to actually find it above the green box. It can tap into it. It was showing on the fibs that it is actually supports the golden ratio zone, but I would actually like for it to find support above 80,000, so on that 0.5 or above. That would then still be following this previous fractal over here with the higher low. Let's actually see what Fibonacci came down to. Just because it came to the 0.5 here does not necessarily mean it'll do the exact same thing this time, but it's quite funny that we were saying we want it to hold that 0.5, the 80k. That's what it did last time around. So that actually has to be used as the pivot point if we see it coming down into this area to break this resistance zone, flip that into support to get this further move up. But all the way through it, I won't be touching altcoins, even if they are pumping, just because there's no reason for why that signal so early on is a reason to sustain long term. That is confirmed once this is broken. So I don't care what goes on before that point with any altcoins. If I miss out on a certain amount of gains or to win back those losses, I'm waiting for the optimal conditions. I don't want to get tricked, manipulated into buying back in and then getting dumped on. I'm fine with buying Bitcoin in these moments. And yeah, if you want to find out more, use the links down below. Take action on the education. If you want to know more about my strategy, if you want to be part of a community with like-minded people. There are others, including myself, sharing ideas in the Discord. So go ahead and check it out. I'll see you over in my next video update. Cheers.